morning. In one of the videos you're going to watch, you'll see that the designer makes a chart in Adobe Illustrator, and she rounds the edges by using the Pathfinder to merge the two shapes to make the edge rounded. There's an easier way to do that, so I wanted to give you a heads up and show you how. When you're dealing with charts, if you want to modify the shapes or colors of the bars in a bar chart or in a column graph, I want to show you what you need to do, and I want to show you an easier way if you wanted to just round the edges like that. Okay, so we're in Adobe Illustrator right now. I just opened it up and I want to create a new file. Let's make a column graph for one of our projects, for one of our assignments. So I'm going to go to New File. And for now, I'm just going to accept the default that's up there. I'm going to call this Rounded Bars Example and hit Create. So once that comes up, I'll show you exactly what to do to get started in making any of the graphs really, and then how to modify them once you make them. Okay, so here we have our regular white page here. And you can see I have all of these different options on the side for tools. And if you look at this tool, that is for making all the different types of graphs that you can make in Adobe Illustrator. We're going to stick with the column graph. So once I click on that, I can choose the size and shape that I want. So I'm just going to drag out a rectangle. And then you get this data tool up here. This is where you're going to put your data. And for a column chart, I'm just going to make a line down this first column. So let's just put in some numbers. Alright, that's enough to get started. So I'm going to just click the checks here. And you see now it gave me my columns in different sizes. It changed my scale. This was 1.0 at the top, it's now 6, being the tallest. Notice I arranged my data in size order from large to small. And that's easier for people to follow and make comparisons. Arranging them in order really makes it easy for people to see which is larger and which is a little smaller. So now that I have the chart, what I want to do is separate and change all this. Right now it's all grouped together. So if I ungroup, I'm going to hit Command-Shift-G to ungroup. It's going to tell me it's no longer going to be a graph once I ungroup it, meaning I can't make any changes. So make sure that your graph is set up the way you want it before you ungroup. Now I'm going to click yes, and that just ungroups it a little bit at this point. I still can't select the columns separately, so I'm going to continue to ungroup until I can select a single column. I may have to do it a few times because things are grouped into smaller things which are grouped into the larger. So I'm just going Command-Shift-G to continually ungroup, and you can see now I've been able to select one column. Up here I can change the color of the stroke and size of the stroke and the color of the bar. So let's change that to a colored bar so we can see it. I'll give it a little magenta color. Alright, so now the easiest way to turn this into a rounded top instead of what exists would be to actually go to the direct selection tool instead of the selection tool. It also brings up these curves. So what I want to do is I'm going to click off it. I'm just going to drag over those 2 points. As you can see, once I've selected those 2 points, if I grab this and drag it into the middle, I have a rounded chart. And you see it doesn't affect that it's still at 6 at the highest point. It's a little harder to read the rounded edge, but it's decorative and people like to do that. I could also go back to my selection tool and select the whole thing. If I wanted to say make the bar narrower, I can just drag it in. So if I didn't want these big bulky wide bars, if I wanted narrow bars, I could do that. I can recenter it, move it. I could roughly center it, or I could use some of my tools here to center things if I have something to align it to. So that's basically how you're going to change and manipulate a chart. I want to show you something else, because something I use is when you want to use an icon of some sort or just something to fill your columns instead of just having a box. And let's say here we have something that isn't a full column, right? It was, what was it, 5.7 or something like that. So what I want to do is fill that. Let's just do something simple like stars. So I'm going to go to my shapes tools. By the way, if you click this out, you want to keep your shapes open, you can do that. And I'm going to click a start. And I'm going to just drag out a little star. Just to keep it even, I'm going to hold my shift. Let's say I want that to be about 1 star. Now I've dragged it down to my 1 size, right? I also want it to stand out here, so I'm going to give it a color. So let's make it a yellow star. I know, cliche. So now I'm going to place that on my bar here, and I'm going to make sure I align the bottom. Next, I duplicated the stars and I want to align them. First, I opened up my rulers, and I'm going to drag a line out to 5 here. So now I have a guide right at 5. I can easily place that top one, which is there, and I have the bottom one aligned. I'm going to hold Shift and select each of these. And now I can use my Align tools and I can align them, and then I also have the Distribute tools. So I want to make sure they're all aligned. They are properly aligned in the center. So now I want to distribute the centers of each of these stars. So I'm just going to click this with all of them selected, and now they're evenly distributed. Now I could use this line to match up where the bottom of that should go. Okay, so now if I just get rid of the bar, it's going to look like this is 6, the same as that one, right? So what I want to do instead is I want to move the bar to the front, and to do that I'm going to hit Command Shift closing square bracket key, and that's going to bring it up to the front. I want to click now the rectangle, and I'm going to bring it to the front like I said before. So Command Shift and the square bracket. It's already selected. I'm holding Shift and touching the tip of that star, and now I've selected what's below it. And to cut that off exactly where the rectangle is and not to see the rectangle anymore, I can use a clipping mask. So I'm going to go Object, come down to Clipping Mask and Make, and you can see now that I have the icons lined up. They're lined up properly. They're in the right positions, and this one is not full, so people could count the stars, each one being 1, and I could put that in a key somewhere that a star is equal to 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then this one is about 0.7 of a star. Those are some of the things you can do to modify your graph, changing colors, changing the shapes. And as you learn how to work with these things, have some fun with it, experiment, try some things. And if you have any questions, let me know. All right, have a wonderful day, and I will speak to you all when class starts.